Hey guys, it is me, the Emerald Sword. Welcome back to another video where today I will be reviewing Needful Things by Stephen King for you all. So, we have finally made it, everyone. The last book review of 2024. I know, it's pretty cool. But of course, in 2023, I've read a lot more books than I reviewed. I reviewed about 4 of them, I believe, but I did not review all of them. So for 2024, I did not make the same mistake because I reviewed every single one of them. And actually, I have a video coming out within the next few days by the end of 2024 with every book I've read in 2024. So keep that in mind. I just want you to guess how many books I've read and what I thought about them. So, yeah. Anyway, so, Needful Things. So, the way that Needful Things is described, it is described as the final Castle Rock novel, and it was written in 1991. Well, it was published in 1991. So it basically is the last Castle Rock story, but since I've reviewed Elevation that takes place in Castle Rock, which came out in 2018, that wasn't the case, but it's like the last major Castle Rock story. And I will say that unfortunately I did Needful Things kind of like how I did Cujo. And if you're confused by that, I mean, Cujo has characters and overarching plot elements from the first book that introduced Castle Rock, The Dead Zone. I have since read The Dead Zone, but I read Cujo before The Dead Zone. So unfortunately, that all that Johnny Smith stuff and the Frank Dodd stuff, I haven't read that before I read Cujo. So Needful Things was sort of the same way for me. It is all connected to the Dead Zone because the Dead Zone is mentioned. Cujo because the Cujo is mentioned. The Dark Calf because the Dark Calf is mentioned, which I have not read yet. And then, of course, Needful Things. And maybe some other Castle Rock stories that I'm not too familiar with. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I didn't read the Dark Calf. There's some spoilers from the Dark Calf and Needful Things. So, I mean, dang it, that's my fault. That's my bad. So if you want to read Needful Things, I'd recommend reading The Dark Calf first, and by extension, The Dead Zone and Cujo, and anything else having to do with Castle Rock as well. But yeah, so anyway, what's this book about? Well, so the book is going up, so that means it is time for spoilers. So Needful Things opens up with a new guy moving into Castle Rock to set up a shop called Needful Things. His name is Leland Gaunt, and there's something not right about him. We don't know exactly what it is, but there's something not right about him. So this boy named Brian Rusk comes into the store, and he's just like, okay, so it's opening. So, like, what's this about? And then he meets Leland Gaunt. And then Leland Gaunt is like, I can sell you anything you want in here. So then Brian Rusk is like, I want a 1956 Sandy Koufax baseball card. And so Gaunt goes into the back and he's like, well, what do you know? I have one right here. So anyway, Brian Rusk pays for it, but here's the thing. You pay for the item half with money, half with a mean prank to someone. And so what the prank is that Brian Rusk has to go over to this woman named Wilma Jerzik's house and then basically spread mud all over her white sheets. And Wilma Jerzik hates this woman named Nettie Cobb because Nettie Cobb has a dog who keeps barking, and she gets really annoyed by it. So, yeah, we'll get into that. But anyway, this book is about 800 pages. I guess I should say that. The book is very long. But this book is just 800 pages of just pure chaos. Like, there's never a slow moment in this book. It just keeps going all the way through. So anyway, across these 800 pages, Leland Gaunt sells a lot of people in Castle Rock stuff from Needful Things and turns the town into chaos. Like, for example, Brian Rusk putting the mud on the white sheets, and then Wilma Jerzik gets mad at Nettie because she thinks Nettie did it, and then so Nettie's dog dies by a different person, and then Nettie thinks Wilma does it, so then they get in a really like nasty knife and cleaver fight, and they both die and kill each other and stuff. And then like there's another couple named Sally and Lester, and they're like they're like about to get married. They're like really solid in a relationship. But Sally sees a picture with Lester with another girl that he had years ago, and so they break up and stuff. And then like the two major like churches are the Catholic Church and the Baptist Church, and then they're kind of getting in everybody else's business and like they're in each other's business, so then they start a war and fight and stuff. It's like Leland Gaunt is just turning this once quaint town just against each other. Like it is just chaos all the way through. So anyway, who's the main character of this book? I didn't know who the main character was at first because Needful Things is like Salem's Lot or like stuff like that, like Salem's Lot, where it's not really about one specific person, it's about the whole town. So like if you've read like Salem's Lot or parts of it or like anything else like that, it's about the town, or even Under the Dome, that's another thing. So like if you've read all of those, Needful Things is like that. It's about the town more than the people that live in the town. So anyway, 800 pages of chaos just goes on. People are getting into fights, they're killing each other and stuff. And then towards the end of the book, Brian Rusk is like, Leland Gaunt's a poison man. He has a poison shop and he's a poison man. So he deletes himself in front of his brother, and his brother freaks out. Keep in mind, I'm leaving a lot of stuff out because this book is just too good to say everything in there. So anyway, his little brother Sean goes to the hospital, and then Alan decides to visit Sean to the hospital. And then Sean basically tells Alan, Brian said that Leland Gaunt is not a full man. Because Leland Gaunt, I guess I should have mentioned this earlier, but he has a thing where like two of his fingers are like the same length. It's like the forefinger and the middle finger, they're like the same length, like that, but without bending. And it's so weird. It's so weird. So anyway, and then of course stuff like that. But Alan Pangborn, he's the main character. He was a major character in the novel The Dark Calf, which I have not read, but unfortunately I got some spoilers for there, so keep that in mind. But apparently his wife Annie and young son Todd were going to the store or something in the car, got in a really bad car accident, and died horrifically. So that's what Alan will be struggling with throughout the stories, that he wants to find out what exactly caused them to die. And so Leland Gaunt can give him the answers. See? Temptation. Anyway, and he's also married to this girl named Polly Chalmers, who has like terrible arthritis. Like it is absolutely horrific arthritis. And so Leland Gaunt gives her this necklace thing called an Azka, I think it is, and it basically cures your arthritis. But because everything has a price, they invite Needful Things, she eventually turns on Alan, and, you know, a bunch of stuff gets messy and stuff. That's the 800 pages of stuff. So anyway, towards the end of the book, Alan finds out that Leland Gaunt is not a actual human, and then Polly Chalmers realizes that Alan wasn't lying to her after all, so she gets rid of the Azka. A spider comes out. It grows as big as a rat, which I have arachnophobia, so that scares me beyond all belief. But yeah, so she kills it and stuff. And then basically, like, the last 100 pages or so was just trying to fix all the chaos that's going on. So in the end, they face Leland Gaunt and Ace Merrill, this guy who Leland Gaunt hired to carry out stuff. Anyway, so he has his own vendettas, and then he basically ends up getting killed. That's that. He gets killed, and then now it's up to Leland Gaunt. And so what Alan does is that back when Todd was alive, he wanted this like snake in a can thing, like from one of those joke shops. And so he decides to fling it at Leland Gaunt, but the snake ends up being real, and Leland Gaunt gets attacked by the snake and becomes a demon monster thing. So that's what he is. He's a demon monster thing, which if you've been reading the book, I don't think will surprise anyone, but that's not the point. So anyway, what happens is that he's like a weird monster thing, right? And so basically they just kind of stop him, and then Leland Gaunt gets into his car. It turns into something, floats up into the sky, and disappears. Yeah, that's really how Leland Gaunt gets defeated in this book. He just goes into his car, floats up, and then disappears. I don't know, man. This was after Stephen King's cocaine addiction ended. I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, so the book ends with the town basically going back to normal, even though stuff exploded. Yeah, there was dynamite everywhere, and a lot of places exploded, like the churches, a lot of the buildings and stuff. And yeah. So the book ends with our main characters going to the hospital to get Norris Ridgwick taken care of before he dies or whatever. And then the final pages of the book is in a new town, I think in Ohio, far away from Maine, where a new shop owner is opening up a new town. So that was basically the story of Needful Things. I know I kind of made it sound like confusing and stuff, not only because it was confusing as a book. When you read 800 pages, it's just kind of confusing and stuff, but I'm just trying to explain stuff to you, and I'm leaving like a lot of the good stuff out. Like there's so much good stuff in Needful Things. It's just really good. Anyway, so now it's time to get into the actual review of this review. So Needful Things is very long. Yes. And are there a couple moments that I didn't understand? Absolutely. But given what the ending is like and how everything ties together, I think the 800 pages make sense. So yeah, as I said, Needful Things is the last like major Castle Rock book that Stephen King has written. He's mentioned Castle Rock and Under the Dome, and of course Elevation took place in Castle Rock, but this is like the last major Castle Rock story. And it makes a lot of sense because we hear about Johnny Smith and Frank Dodd from the Dead Zone. We hear about Cujo and the events of Cujo from Cujo. And then we hear about some of the events from The Dark Half, which I will be reading next year. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, at the heart of this book is about the inner evil of humanity. Because Leland Gaunt, he is an agent of chaos. He is an anarchist. He is whatever you want to think he is as evil. He is a mass consumerist evil villain that just wants to watch the world burn. Yes, like in The Dark Knight. He's basically Heath Ledger's Joker. So, yeah. But anyway, Leland Gaunt, his whole purpose is just to watch Castle Rock fall apart. He takes all these nice and loving people, has people pranking each other and blaming each other for stuff, and the town just falls apart because of it. They're just all turning on each other and getting violent and killing each other and stuff. And yeah, so Leland Gaunt is a bad dude, and Leland Gaunt is one of my favorite Stephen King villains just because of how much of an influence he has on people. He's not very much of a physical threat because he just looks like an older guy, because there's a lot of older guys that can't really do a lot of things, but just the way that his shop works and what you do and how you're influenced by him is scary. Like, he turns an entire town against each other, and the only way they get out of it is because they realize what Gaunt is doing and decide to stop being mean to each other. So yeah, that's what I think this book is about. The inner evil of humanity and how we should all be better to each other. So anyway, the Needful Things was a very fun book. It is very long, yes, and upon a first read like I didn't understand why everyone was like fighting and stuff. I thought it was just kind of unnecessary, but of course with the ending, that makes so much sense on why everything was happening like that. So yeah, I really recommend this book. Go read Needful Things. And yeah, anyway, that is my last book review for 2024. I hope you guys have enjoyed not only this video, but every video I've done in 2024. I have great plans for 2025, which you guys will see in 2025. And I have one more video coming out this year, which is every book I've read in 2024. So yeah, stay tuned for that as well. Yeah, so if this is your first video, thank you for watching. Leave a like on the video if you haven't, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't down below. But yeah, that's it from me. You go read Needful Things. I've been Ben from the Emerald Sword, and I will see you guys next time.